Hello and welcome to Read, Watch, Play. Today we're doing a one-shot. That's what I'm calling it, a one-shot spoiler review. So if you have seen, if you have not seen Spoiler Man, if you haven't seen Spoiler-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Homecoming, then don't watch this. Pause it, run right out, go to your nearest movie theater and watch Spider-Man Homecoming. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you our thoughts, and we're going to talk about all the different spoilers. Cliff, you've seen the movie twice.
Yes, I have.
I am probably going to go see it again tonight, I hope. But I'll definitely see it a second time this week. So let's get into it. We'll start a little bit with the premise of this particular movie. We pick up pretty much immediately with the events of Civil War. Spider-Man's involvement, and then we move to Peter Parker's back at his school, he's back at his home, he's in Queens, and it's his life post Civil War, and he goes out at night and he's saving the neighborhood, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and getting churros for helping old ladies.
Yep.
And he is and then he runs into some bad guys that are getting weapons from the Vulture.
Yep.
And then,
but we don't know. We don't know that right away. But
we don't know that right away. But for the whole, as far as the whole movie goes, and then it pretty much takes off from there. It's him having to deal with his personal life at school, his relationship with Tony Stark, and
Aunt May,
and proving Aunt May, and proving, to everybody that he can be Avenger quality material, while he's trying to fight the Vulture and his gang. And so first off, wow. Overall thoughts, this movie was amazing. I assumed it was going to be good. I wanted it to be good. I went in thinking it was going to be good.
It might be, it's really
and
funny.
It blew me away.
A lot of people I know were like, I think I'm more excited about War for the Planet of the Apes. And I'm like, okay. And then I saw Spider-Man, and I'm like, you're going to forget all about that movie. Spider-Man's going to have you laughing and excited. It's going to be great. It's just, it's very impressive. I don't even know where to start. I want to start with, I Told You So, about Zendaya.
What's funny is I'm watching it, and there's one moment where
They call her Michelle,
and I said, son of a gun.
Because you
Cliff
knew.
was right.
You knew.
And I was like, man.
One of my friends is a little upset that she's not Mary Jane. She's not Mary Jane Watson, and that she's Michelle something else, and that's where the MJ comes from. And he's like, I don't know. I would have preferred for them just to do it right. And I'm like, what? I'm like, it's modern day Spider-Man. I don't think we're gonna get more right than this.
So let's back up 2 seconds before we even get into that. The diversity in this movie
fantastic
is phenomenal.
In the meantime, the kid playing Flash is getting lambasted on social media and death threats.
Why? Because he was too good at his part.
I don't know. I don't like it. I think everything was fine. I think the casting's great. The characters are a fusion of Ultimate Spider-Man supporting cast and standard Spider-Man supporting cast in high school. I don't know. People have some issues that I think we need to bury. The movie's just good. Leave it alone.
And I'll be honest with you, when she is not the Mary Jane that we all know, but she's not even Mary Jane. She's Michelle something.
Yeah, but she is also, but she is the MJ of this universe.
But she's the MJ, and so.
And you know what's great? She does have one of Mary Jane's qualities, right? So Mary Jane is introduced in Spider-Man 44 or something, but she doesn't have the whole face it tiger, you hit the jackpot until issue 60 something. Right? So, in that regard, this is definitely the Mary Jane or MJ that hung out in the background watching Peter closely. Yeah. She makes a point to say during debate team that she is that she observes things. Yeah. What did she say? What was her word exactly? I'm not a stalker. I'm just very observant.
I think that's what she said. Yeah.
Right. But anyhow, that's very important because she looks at Peter a certain way the whole movie, and she certainly has that same look on her face when her friends are in danger and Spider-Man is standing right next to her.
Yeah.
And
I think she,
which, by the way, I loved. I'm sure. I'm almost sure she knows. I'm almost sure she knows.
I'm almost positive she knows too,
Yeah.
because he's. Does he make a point to mask his voice in
Not
the
all
elevator?
the time. In the elevator, he did, but she's on the ground and he's normal sounding on the ground.
Right. That's what I mean. Is that because I'm almost, and she has that look on her face, like she recognizes what.
Yeah,
what,
and it's
is.
kind of one of those things. Like it's kind of one of those things. Like she's the way she says, "My friends are up there." It's kind of like, Peter, if that's you, it's your friends too.
Yeah.
Move.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love that there's like that. Look, I'm actually getting chills because I actually really enjoyed the movie.
It
had
really
that
good.
nice blanket effect where I'm like, yes, you know. And I don't know. So I very much enjoyed her. I enjoyed all of them, and oh man, like I really like this movie, and it's not like it's this flawless movie and it's gonna be an Academy Award nominee or anything, but it's just like it was just so much fun, and the characters were all real. Like even freaking what's her name, Betty Brant, who does the school news.
Oh, the little
yes, and by the way, she hugs Liz at the end of the movie. She's the one who hugs her goodbye.
Oh, okay.
But it's right. But that's the thing. She's got this small part.
Circuit TV.
It's right. It's a small part, but she's a real character.
It also felt like there was a lot of like millennial touches in this movie. Like it was like,
but without
a lot
disconnecting.
Right. Well,
yeah.
And the thing is like what was so great about this movie is no matter what the changes they made, whether it's the diversity of the changes that they made, MJ, Flash,
Liz,
and I just want to say, like with the diversity, I lived in Brooklyn for 4 years.
It matches what Brooklyn is like.
Brooklyn, Queens. I mean, that is accurately representative of what it would be like.
Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island, because the movie really
and it
hits it all.
And the thing is like that's really the people you see when you walk around, and so I was very appreciative, and I really enjoyed that.
The bodega across from the bank, so perfect.
Oh, it was
so perfect.
I mean, when I lived in New York, I used to go to bodegas all the time and get sandwiches and talk. Especially the ones that I went to on a daily basis. The delis or whatever, and I would talk to the guys, and we'd joke around like that or whatever. And it was just, it really had that New York feel. And the thing is every choice they made, they committed to it. They were serious about it. It wasn't a gimmick. Yeah. It wasn't something to just make noise. It was because that's the choice they made. They fully committed to it. They followed through with it, and they built those choices to their fullest. And those characters were to their fullest. And everything they did was genuine and sincere. And nothing I felt was pushing it or was in your face or anything that was out of place. I mean, it really felt solid. Let's talk a little bit more about the characters. Tom Holland is Spider-Man.
Amazing. I don't think there's going to be an argument about this is the Spider-Man that everybody has been looking forward to. Like, he is very much Spider-Man.
The insecurities, the unsure of himself, the sort of like. I loved the fact that the scene where they go to the party, they go to Liz's party, and he's gonna the whole idea is that he's gonna show up as Spider-Man and be like, Peter Parker's my best friend, and blah blah blah, and he's really struggling with that because he thinks it's a silly idea. Now, until
Flash freaking gets under his skin, and then he's ready to do it.
Well, and the thing is that like any sane adult. Just like that wouldn't even be a question. It just wouldn't happen. Yeah. Like you need to keep your identity secret. You need to whatever, Yeah. But the fact that that's like a struggle for him really shows the immaturity of this character, and I believe that's an accurate portrayal for Peter Parker / Spider-Man. I mean, and it was very exciting for me to see that, and I felt as a whole, when Kevin Feige said that this was going to be like John Hughes meets the Avengers or whatever.
In so many
ways. It really was. Yeah. I didn't think they could hit that note. I honestly was like, okay, well, they'll try, but it really won't feel like that. And they nailed it.
One thing that I think is always a problem with teenage films is, an unrealistic portrayal of adults. This movie didn't suffer from that. Yep. Liz is throwing a party very secretively, in the suburbs of Long Island. Like, my parents are away. Oh God, something already broke. Like, and that's fine. I mean, the only thing that was missing was for the police to show up, because in real life, every one of our friends who's ever thrown a party when the parents are away, it always ended up with the police showing up.
Although, Peter, we were with Peter the whole time.
That's true. We don't know how it ended. That's true. We don't know. But then I feel like she would not have been allowed to homecoming if things got out of hand.
Possibly.
But also this group of kids, because they make a point of saying that high school is really for like all the kids who like know something and that's school. So maybe these kids are structured enough that Liz is like, we can get away with this. We can get away with this. Yeah. Also, if she focused on inviting people from the debate team, because that's why Michelle is there as well. Yeah. So they're kind of responsible kids, but they're still being kids. Yeah. God, I can't believe we can get so much just out of that scene in the movie. And I love it. I just love it. There's so many great characters. The fact that Childish Gambino there is the one.
Donald Glover.
Donald Glover is the one picking up the guns, and then when the suit identifies him later in the movie, it's the Prowler. And he's actually the second version of the Prowler from the comics. Yeah. And then he says, my nephew lives in that neighborhood. I want him to be safe. And then it's like, could that be Miles Morales? Could we have that?
Kevin Feige, I believe he confirmed that Miles Morales is in this universe somewhere. Yeah. And I think that was a nod to that fact.
I would be so okay with it, and I would love, if it's Spider-Man 2 or 3, 3 sounds more likely, but if 3, actually, we're still with Peter, right? But if 3 actually tells us the story of Miles, through Miles' eyes, but with Peter's presence, I think that would be so great.
I have a feeling, because they said that Spider-Man Homecoming 2, or Spider-Man 2, whatever they're going to call it.
It can't be Homecoming. We used it and abused it this time.
True. I mean, hey, it could be a Homecoming next year.
Well, yeah, he was only a freshman, right? Or a sophomore.
So, yeah, something like that. And so, they did say that that the sequel to this is going to launch the Phase 4 of the MCU. So, that's
so funny. I'm so glad that you said Phase 4, because most of my friends interpreted that interview with Kevin as, it's going to be like a whole new relaunch of the Marvel Universe. And I'm like, okay, we need to chill. It's not a relaunch of the Marvel Universe. The Infinity Gauntlet might cause a relaunch.
I think there might be ripple effects, but I don't think that they're going to completely reboot it or anything.
No, of course not.
They need to keep this movie in continuity at the very least.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that... and that's exciting, because we've been given the impression through these articles and these interviews with Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal that this Sony Marvel deal is not a solid thing after these series of films. Yeah. Now all of a sudden
it feels a lot more serious.
The mid-credit scene indicates Sinister Six coming?
Yeah, which the whole movie was.
I mean, it was like a mini one. It was like a Sinister 3.
Yes, it was.
So it was like, okay, well, this is something that Sony has been wanting to do for a long time. Is set up the Sinister Syndicate.
Yes.
That's a pretty solid commitment.
And not to mention, the deal is they have to do some of the filming. They get to do some of the distribution. Marvel does some of the filming and some of the distribution. And as far as Sony's concerned, they're like, this is great. We stand to make money. Of course we'll help you.
Well, the odd thing is they've been throwing around things like Venom and Black Cat and Silver Sable. Silver Sable. I always get Silver Sable, and who's the girl from Supergirl, Silver
Banshee.
Silver Banshee.
They're quite different.
Well, I know they're different, but the names are so similar. I always get confused. So Silver, and so they're throwing them out, and they're like, they are going to be connected. They're not going to be connected. They are going to be connected. They're not gonna be. I don't see how, with the success of this movie, that's clearly going to happen. It's on track for $120 million. Opening weekend, which is more than they estimated. They thought it was going to be somewhere around 100.
Never underestimate the power of you wrote a good film.
Well, that's so true. And again, similar to Wonder Woman, I think this movie is going to have legs. This movie is going to continue making money. I think the week-to-week
it's going to have so many legs, spider legs, stomping the box office.
stomping the box office. And I think that the week-to-week drop-off is not going to be as big. I think people are going to continue to go see this movie. You've seen it twice already.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to see it at least one more time.
I am sure. First of all, both showings. The first showing, I got there on time to the theater, and I had to sit in the first row, and that was preview night. Mm-hmm. The second night, I made my friend Seth go in an hour early with me. We claimed our seats, and by the time the previews were rolling, every seat, except for the one in between us, was packed.
I try to go on Thursday nights because I don't take any chances with spoilers.
Yeah.
If a movie is available to watch on Thursday night,
I'm very interested. If I'm not interested,
yeah, it depends. I mean, if it's a movie I know I'm going to see, I go Thursday night. I go and I watch it. And sometimes because I've got two kids, and it's hard to take them to the movies. They're 2 and 4. So oftentimes what we'll do is I'll go see it by myself on Thursday, and then like Friday or Saturday night, if it's something I think my wife will like, we'll go to the drive-in. We'll put the kids in the car. We'll go to the drive-in. We have a great local drive-in near us, so it's fantastic. We'll go and we'll watch it there, and then she'll get to see it too. We don't have to get a sitter for the kids or anything, so it's a great little. So I usually get to see a good movie like this like twice on the week on the opening weekend. But
how kid-friendly did you find this movie, by the way?
I find it pretty kid friendly.
I found it pretty good. There was a couple of moments where I was like,
compared to other Marvel movies, I found this very kid friendly.
Yeah.
I think that there's one Marvel property that I found very not kid friendly was actually Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I found that there was a lot of graphic content with I remember there was one scene where like I think Hive comes in and destroys a room full of people, and then they're all just like charred skeletons. Like
I mean, there is a reason that show airs at 9 and later.
Well, they moved it to 10 because I think that they were pushing a little bit of an envelope on ABC. So as far as this movie goes, and even in Doctor Strange, I thought some of that stuff. I mean, they did hire a horror director, which is great. I love Doctor Strange. But there's some visuals and stuff and some violence and stuff in some of the other Marvel movies that it's like, okay, this is great for like 12, 13. I don't know if I'd go younger. Parents' discretion obviously, but I found this very kid friendly. I thought that a lot of it. The only scene that I was terrified in was the Staten Island ferry scene, because I used to ride the Staten Island ferry every day to go to work when I lived on Staten Island. And by the way, they haven't had cars on the Staten Island ferry in like 50 years.
It's the Marvel movie universe. It's an alternate universe.
Sure. Yeah, right. Totally unbelievable. Couldn't get into that scene. Anyway,
I'm
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I
I said it at the beginning of the scene. I was like, "That's not true. That's not real." And then I was like, "All right, I'll forget about that because it's so good." This whole scene
and also
really good.
alternate universe. So,
yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Somewhere out there is a universe with the Staten Island ferry still carries cars.
True.
Somewhere out there's a universe where the ferry that would go from like Maryland to Washington still exists.
True. So I think the movie is going to be hugely successful, and I'm wondering why on earth would they ever not want to connect everything?
Again, well, let's be honest. The number one problem I have on the planet is greed. Right? So, not connect everything. It's like this way Sony can't make all this money for themselves. Right? Okay. On the other hand, I feel personally like Sony's like, why can't we just make this money together? Like, we'll make money, you'll make money, and it's just great because we're all making money. Which there's something to be said.
Do you think in terms of the extended Spider-Man universe, these other properties that they're talking about being in development, that it's Marvel's the one that's saying, "No, we really don't want to do that in our universe"?
I feel
you guys can do it.
I feel the trepidation is coming from Marvel. Look at that interview with what's her name again?
Amy Pascal
and Kevin Feige, right? It's her, the excitement and energy is coming from her, and that passive, weird energy is coming from him.
Gotcha.
Right? So, and basically, as far as I'm concerned, she represents Sony, he represents Marvel. So that sends a sign to me as the audience member watching the interview. I could tell who's the one holding back in this situation.
That's true, but now again we come back to Spider-Man: Homecoming and the mid-credit scene, and these we're now hearing that they're there's 5 movies in development in this partnership. That Spider-Man sequel is launching Phase 4 of the MCU. He's going to be an integral part of it. This tells me that we're now like they're in it. They're going all in together. And I'm wondering.
I feel like Kevin wanted to like wait a little bit. And maybe
he's very smart, and that very well.
And
could have been
I mean,
the
look at
reason,
freaking Tom Holland has been spoiling stuff left and right to the point where they told him to turn in his script for Infinity War, and then he ended up burning it on his Instagram.
Right. So we had one comment in the comments here. Roscoe says that he thought the movie was very well done, and he's already seen it twice also. So again, I think this is going to be great.
This one's going to be way more successful than anyone planned, I'm sure.
Joe says that he's pissed the cat survived the bodega blast. What was the cat's name? Murray?
Why would you be pissed about the cat surviving?
Oh,
do you know how many cat lovers were in my audience?
He says cats are evil, and it probably has celestial powers or mind control.
You know,
you're not a cat fan, are you?
He's not, but there are several cats in the Marvel Universe that it could qualify for.
That's true. So
sorry, Joe. If it were a dog, would you have felt better?
So let's talk about some of the other characters.
There's so many.
Let's talk about Michael. Yeah, let's talk about Michael Keaton.
Thank you. Like Michael Keaton was everything.
Reprising his role as Birdman.
Listen, the first thing I love about this movie, remember when we were talking last time about movies and developing villains, and the last time I saw a movie that developed this movie developed a villain. The first scene is Michael Keaton untying Daly as the head of damage control.
I lost my crap when I saw that. I was
Some of you don't know who Tyne Daly is. She's from a show called Cagney and Lacey where they were 2 lady detectives. That was awesome. But more importantly, she is the sister of Tim Daly, who voiced Superman the Animated Series. Not that that's more important, but let's keep it in the family.
Who was also on Wings, one of my favorite shows.
Wings,
yes. That also had Tony Shalhoub.
Yes.
And what's his name, who played Sandman in Spider-Man 3.
Yes. So look at that, keeping it in the family hard, man.
So that's one thing. I was actually a little surprised. I'll take that back. I was a lot surprised. The opening sequence was all about Vulture and his history, and I was like, "This is different."
And also, he's a sympathetic villain.
He
and it's like you're not sitting there going, "Oh, he's such a bad man." It's like, no, he's like, "I'm trying to provide for my family, and like the world sucks."
After that first scene, you're like, those people are jerks, and I hope he gets what he wants.
Right,
and then he gets what he wants, and you're like, oh, I kind of...
You went too far, dude.
Yeah.
Now you want to be a murderer.
Yeah. I did have a little bit of an issue when later on in the movie, when one of his gang members wanted to leave, and he shot him with a gun and vaporized him, and then it was all of a sudden like, and I was like, oh my gosh, like,
and then he's like, oh, that was the wrong guy.
He's like, oh, that was the wrong guy, and I was like, and he just so offhandedly like let it go, and I was like, really, like that couldn't have been a little bit more like heavy for you to deal with, like I like no remorse whatsoever, and I was like, all right.
Well, we don't know what they've been doing in 8 years.
That's true. I mean, look, that guy was a jerk anyway, and I would have vaporized him.
And he was the original Shocker.
That's
what's so funny.
Well, what I love is he makes fun of him for calling himself the Shocker.
Yeah, and then he
vaporizes him, and he picks up the thing, and he goes, "I guess you're the Shocker now." I mean, it was great. Like, just because that's one thing in superhero TV and movies, dealing with the superhero name, the moniker, and some shows or movies, they try to make a joke out of it or whatever. I love it.
Some just run with it.
Some just run with it. Others don't even address it at all.
Yeah.
I
love Flash. I love what I love about Flash is Cisco just doing the names.
Cisco, yeah, he's like, I'm gonna come up with a good name.
And what I really enjoyed too, when Earth 2 Wells puts him to the test, being like, do you know how Zoom got his name on My World? It was the sound he made as he murdered our police force.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so he goes, we don't just come up with names for people in My World. Yeah. And I'm like, damn. Yeah. So I like that someone gave him a stark contrast to him naming the villain of the week.
Elias is saying that Doomfist was also in the movie.
Yes.
Doomfist was...
I'm trying to think. See, I actually
Because
didn't
I know
catch that.
Scorpion's in the movie.
Oh yeah, Scorpion's super obvious. First of all, the eyepiece says MacArgan, and then of course the Scorpion is actually tattooed on his neck, so we know he's Scorpion. Damn it, I feel really bad about this. The reason I even know about Doomfist being in the movie is I read it in an article, and I was hoping.
I feel like I did too.
And I was hoping that I would catch it the second time I watched it, and it's still I got caught up in the action. It went over me. Ooh, something I noticed in the second watch. Right when the plane is crashing at the end of the film, right? It's Coney Island, right in the background,
yes.
right? So one of the towers says Thunderbolts in the lights.
No, it doesn't.
It does. It does. Yes, it says Thunderbolts as the lights are coming down.
In Coney Island?
On Coney Island, yeah, it says Thunderbolts. And I was like, please let them be in Phase 4. Please let them be in Phase 4.
Look, first I want Red Hulk.
Oh, okay, you're jumping ahead, but I guess.
I was actually slightly disappointed that Red Hulk was not in Civil War.
Well, he was. He just wasn't Red Hulk yet.
Well, that's my point.
At least the actor is still there.
General Ross. Well, I love the fact that they're keeping him because he was a great General Ross.
He was.
And I love that they brought him back for Civil War. I want him, and I think the reason they brought him back for Civil War is because
they do want to do Red Hulk.
I think they're going to do Red Hulk, and because I'll tell you, not to jump around to a completely different Marvel movie, but Abomination. I love Abomination in Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
I actually really like that conflict, and I feel like the only thing that would make that conflict better is if it was Red Hulk and Hulk, because then you have that personal history and that personal conflict between them that would make it even better. So, back to Spider-Man: Homecoming. So, well-developed villain.
Yep.
I want to mention the shout out to Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
That was cute.
When he's running through the backyard.
And then one of the backyards has it playing.
I literally thought to myself, this is just like that scene in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And then the next yard he runs into, they're watching that scene. And I was like, that is amazing. And the other thing I wanted to mention was his best friend. Ned.
Yep.
Who, if I'm not mistaken, is actually Miles' best friend in the comics.
Right, but he's not Ned in the comics. He is a fusion. He is another fusion character. And of course, someone develops so that we can see someone that shares the secret.
Yep. And then, I guess, let's talk about the bombshell at the end. Hang on. Well, let's talk about one more thing before we get to the bombshell, and then we'll wrap it up. But Captain America cameos.
Oh, they were so hilarious.
And the post-credit
scenes were like, patience. Patience.
And then he's like, you've waited so long for something so disappointing.
Yes.
And then he's like, how many more of these are we going to do? And then it just ends. And I was like, best post-credit scene ever.
I love that iteration of the uniform. I love it.
I don't, but I'm glad that they threw it back to, oh, he's back, he's Cap, and he does all these inspirational videos. Yes. And then later on, he moves back to the more practical uniform.
There's something about that uniform that really... I mean, I know it's the hokiest of them, but it's the one that screams Captain America. Actually, you know what I really like, too? I do like the one in the Avengers. I mean, yes, he almost looks like a Power Ranger, but still, it's what I love about it is it's perfect because freaking... Coulson himself said, I'm the one who added the personal touches. And he goes, and I know it seems, like a little bit, what did he say? It's like a little too flamboyant or a little too much?
He says a little bit, he says I forget what he says, but then he's like, but I think that's what we need right now.
No, that's what, and that scene easily sold it to me. Yeah. I was so happy to see that beautiful red, white, and blue Cap, running through the streets, telling people what to do. Yeah. So yes, I do want to see a brighter Cap.
My favorite one is actually the World War II one from the first movie.
A bit, yeah.
And I love the fact that in Winter Soldier, he goes and steals it from the Smithsonian and wears it for the second half of the movie. I thought that was brilliant. But the Captain America cameos are great. And Ty Burris.
As the
coach. The gym teacher and the detention teacher.
He's great.
Literally in the movie for probably 15 seconds.
But he's wonderful.
So memorable, so funny. And he even offhandedly says, yeah, you better listen to this guy, but I'm pretty sure he's like an enemy of the state or something.
That was the best. That was such a great line.
Just his, it's just his delivery. The casting in this movie, incredibly well
done. By the way, something really cool and noteworthy, Peter is doing push-ups or sit-ups like a pro with Ned.
Yeah.
And then the coach walks by. He's like, "Good job, Parker." And then he like gives him a look, and then he slows himself down because he's like, "Oh, I can't show off because I'm just Peter Parker."
So many great little touches.
And it was really.
So before we talk about the very last bombshell of the proper movie, was there anything else you want to talk about?
No use of spider senses.
That is yes.
But I am told that it could be a power Peter has not developed yet. That's what the director said in a recent interview. The other thing that people seem to be having an issue with, but I feel like the movie's so well handled, let's not. This is and it's a two-parter, but a single issue. Yeah. A, the suit coming from Tony, and B, the fact that it has a full AI inside. So nothing's really coming from Peter. All the super cool webs, are coming from developments of Tony and the AI assisting Peter. Now that said, I personally feel like we have ushered in a 21st century Spider-Man. I very much like Karen, the operating system. I thought she was
Karen is great.
And she really was. And also, at least the movie still took the time with us to show us that Peter is a genius. Because every time you make things come from somewhere else, and all the other Spider-Man iterations too, for me personally, I feel it takes away from Peter's genius. Yeah. In this movie, they stopped to take the time to make sure that we knew that Peter was the one making his own web fluid, that when Peter was trapped in the damage control warehouse, that he was trying to override that door with the computer's help, Karen's help, but he was the one coming up with the calculations to do it. Yeah. I very much like that. That's the that's the encompassment of something going on there.
The other thing is that I probably would have had an issue with that. I would have agreed with those people if it wasn't for the fact that in the movie itself, one of the plot points is Peter needs to know what he can do without the suit.
Yes.
And he needs to be Spider-Man without the suit.
And what a
prove
great moment.
To himself and to us. Oh, when he's trapped
I don't know.
Under the
yeah, I don't know if you
debris.
know that is like a famous Steve Ditko. It is a famous like Steve Ditko Spider-Man moment where he's trapped and he just has to and it's like 6 panels on one page where he's just talking himself through and finding the will and the strength to escape. And it's so good. And I love that someone along the lines thought about this and said, we can make this happen in the movie. And it was great. And it's probably the only moment in the movie where there was just no laughs, no nothing. There was just this breath in my throat, and it was moving. Hearing him say, "Come on, Spider-Man, come on, Spider-Man," and pull himself out, it was really well done.
And the thing is like I didn't know what was going to happen next. Yeah. And it's like that's always a great moment as an audience viewer. It's like have you ever seen Toy Story 3?
Yeah,
the end of Toy Story 3, they're all going down into that incinerator.
And they hold hands.
And everybody's trying to struggle. Then they one by one they stop struggling. They all hold hands. They get what's her name to stop and hold hands, and then they all face their doom and death together.
I was watching it,
and I'm like I lost it. I was like I don't know what's gonna happen next, and I think they're gonna kill all these toys, and I can't handle this.
I saw it opening weekend with my mom and 3 of my nieces. My mother grabs my arm or grabs my wrist, turns to me and goes, "Is this a children's movie?" And I was like, "It is, Mom, it is." And my mother and I were like, when the freaking aliens swooped in and saved them, even my mother, who could care less, screamed and applauded in the audience because she was just like, "What did we just watch?"
And in this movie, in that moment, I knew he was going to be okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how he was going to get out of this.
Yeah.
I didn't know if Tony was going to come and rescue him. I didn't know if a passerby was going to come and rescue him. I didn't know if he was going to get stuck there until the next day, or if he was going to do what he did and talk himself into it. Because, I love those moments as an audience member when I don't know what's going to happen next, and it's a genuine, sincere, honest, emotional moment, and it's just one actor and the audience, and all of these emotions are being conveyed, and like you said, it's just you just don't know.
Something that a lot, not all, because some, I still feel quite disconnected when I watch Doctor Strange. you know, and it's a shame. I really like the character. I don't have a problem with the acting. I've seen it 2 or 3 times, and I liked it, but you know, there's something that's just.
I mean, I feel the same way with Ant-Man. I do.
And Ant-Man is one of the ones I was about to praise. Okay, Ant-Man.
And I'm the opposite. Yeah. I enjoyed Doctor Strange, and I can connect with that way more than I can connect with Ant-Man. I just really.
I thought you would have connected more with Ant-Man because, like, that's his daughter. You know,
to me, I don't want to get into a huge conversation about it, but to me, Ant-Man is a series of great Ant-Man moments in between a bunch of Paul Rudd moments. And it just...
Well, first of all, the fact that it's not even Hank Pym Ant-Man, I was already totally okay with Paul Rudd being there.
But my problem is I feel like you know, my problem really is Paul Rudd, and I feel bad about that. But the reason why I think it's exaggerated is because he helped rewrite it, and I feel like he put Paul Rudd in that movie, not Scott Lang. So I see these sequences of Paul Rudd playing Scott Lang as Ant-Man.
Did you read the early Scott Lang Ant-Man comics? Probably not. Okay, so like, yeah, he nailed it, is all I can tell you. Okay. All the early Scott Lang appearances are very it's like reading Deadpool, but not graphic like that. Okay. It's all very jokey and not serious, and so he nailed Scott Lang very well. So, yeah, because, you know, not very serious, and then, of course, the whole heist element, and, of course, that's Scott Lang stole that suit, and, you know, he wasn't, you know, I mean, in the comics. Yeah. So, anyhow, because I have a good comic book history bearing behind it, and knowing that his daughter is meant to become Stature for the Young Avengers, you know, I don't know. I looked at it a totally different way. I love the fact that it was a heist film and that this movie captured that feeling in Ant-Man.
It did.
So that brings me back to, I love how this Spider-Man film was also like a teen movie, and it captured that feeling as well. And the better Marvel movies capture a feeling with the storytelling.
Yeah. So the big bombshell at the end is Peter declines becoming a member of the Avengers.
Well, that's super bombshell.
He goes...
We didn't even get into the fact that the Vulture is Liz's dad.
Oh, we didn't?
Yeah. I mean, that was great.
I mean, we are running out of time, but...
I want you to know, the second time I'm watching it, right, my friend is sitting next to me, and he sees Peter holding the corsage, leaving Mary Jane, or leaving Aunt May, and he turns to me and goes, oh my God, is Vulture her dad? And I'm like, look at the screen. And there's Michael Keaton opening the door. And he's like, oh! And he figured it out just at the moment it was happening. In the meantime, when it happened to me Thursday night, I was like, ah!
I was watching it, and probably in the first, I forget when it was. It may have been when she said that her parents were out of town. I had a half thought. I was like, is the Vulture going to be your dad? And then I'm like, yeah, I mean, maybe. And if it is, cool. If not, I'm not going to invest myself in that at this point because they haven't told me that. And then later on when it happened, I was still surprised. I was like, oh. And it wasn't even that I was surprised. It was like I was where Peter was.
Yes.
When that just, whoa, like, and Tom Holland, man, like,
by the way,
he can't focus on anything else.
By the way,
he can't focus on anything
it's
else.
Amazing.
Other than, oh my God,
this guy's there.
The girl that I'm in love with, her dad is this guy that I'm trying to fight, and I don't know what to do.
The second time I watched the movie, seeing Vulture's facial reaction to Spider-Man rescuing those kids, being Liz and the others, seeing his facial reaction is so much more obvious having watched it the second time. And I'm like, this is where his feelings on Spider-Man change a little. Okay, right? And then, so of course I knew that, you know, going into it. But, you know, to the casual observer, you know, that face, who knows what Michael Keaton's face is meaning, right?
When he's figuring it out, too.
Peter when he's figuring it out in the car. That scene is amazing. That tension of that scene is fantastic.
And he's like looking back, and you just see him working it out in his head. And he's like, oh, he's here, he's there.
He keeps disappearing on the nights where I have to deal with Spider-Man.
Like, and then he's just like putting it all together. And you almost see him trying to convince himself that that's not true. That's not it. And then, like, you know, he does the whole, you know, and then he's like, I gotta give him the talk. And then they have and I was like, wow. I was like, man, just Michael Keaton.
He was great. He might have been he, as much as I love Tom Holland in this film, I might have loved Michael Keaton just as much. Great villain.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad he's still there. I'm so glad that they're teasing the Sinister Syndicate, and I'm so glad that they've set up this internal conflict within the Vulture, that he knows who Spider-Man is. The other guys, Scorpion comes up and he's like, "Hey, the rumor is, you know him," and he's like, "If I had known him, he'd be dead already."
Yeah.
And so I think we're gonna see the Sinister Syndicate. I
wonder if we're gonna see the Sinister Six, the traditional first.
Possibly.
I would love that.
And I think that I just love that they've set up this internal struggle within him, and now we have this backstory and this history. I honestly think that if they don't kill off Vulture in the second one, I think that Michael Keaton could become the next Loki of the Marvel Universe.
Oh yeah, he was wonderful.
It was so we're so invested in him already. Mm-hmm. There's this conflict, there's this history. I think that it's going to be great, and
he's very smart.
Yes,
and it's the smart really survive the Marvel Universe.
So let's get to the end. Tony Stark offers him what appears to have touches of Iron Spider.
Yep.
Looked fantastic.
Yep.
Peter declines.
Yep, which I thought was beautiful.
I loved it. I thought
it is all about Peter's growth. All about Peter's growth.
And that's the thing I love about this movie, and what I love about movies like Avengers and like Iron Man 2008, Star Trek 2009, Good Will Hunting. Every single thing in this movie services the plot and the story, and the characters and the characterizations push the plot forward, and there is no excess in this movie, and everything stays on point. Everything stays on to the plot and the theme and the tone of the movie. I mean, just everything is laser focused on what it's about, Peter's growth. And declines, the whole moment in the end with Tony and Pepper were amazing.
And Pepper
was back
and getting ready to get engaged.
Oh. And I didn't know if he was going to have the reporters there or not. I assumed that the reporters were there.
I assumed they were there too.
And then
but when Pepper popped out, and she's like, "Where's the kid?" I'm like, "Yes!"
But let's talk about the other big bombshell at the end. He gets back to his home. His suit is waiting there for him.
He's so excited to put it back on.
Puts it on. He takes his mask off. He's ready to go out for the night. And then right behind him is Aunt May.
And I love it.
And
I love it.
She sees him, and she sees that he's Spider-Man.
No BS, no pretension, nothing.
End of the movie.
I'm super happy. I love it.
What does this mean? Where do we go from here?
Look, the fact that she's gonna eat it and accept that he's trying to save people and save the world. But at the same time, be there and be like, all right, snap out of your crap, and I also want you to do your homework and pass school. Yeah. I feel somewhere she might be in the middle, somewhere, or the fact that, or who knows, it's one of those things where it's going to be mixed horrifyingly with, you are my child, I am charged with protecting you, raising you. Since we lost your parents, I lost my husband. And by the way, the movie doesn't go through all that with us, but they make a point for Peter to stop and tell Ned, no, I can't let her know, Ned, it's too much, she's been through enough already. I love that the movie laid that foundation for us, and that was it. But yes, to me it is obvious that is what will be going through any version of Aunt May's head. So I very much like this version. I thought Marissa Tomei was great. I think all the jokes in the movie about that she's, hot were hilarious and beautifully executed.
Oh, the scene when they're eating dinner and the guy brings the free dessert over or whatever.
He's it's his sticky rice pudding. Oh, but we didn't order that. It is on the house. I think what was it? I think he larbs you. I think he larbs you.
Yeah, just great. I'm so excited about where this movie goes. Its relationship to the rest of the MCU, how it's going to launch Phase 4, and I honestly believe that this is a turning point. And I think that Sony and Marvel are going to stick together. I honestly do. I think that any of these new properties coming forth are going to be connected. And it's interesting. I think you're right. I think Kevin Feige wanted to wait until this movie came out, wanted to gauge the success of it, gauge the reaction to the audience, because he's a very smart guy, like you said. And I think that now that he's seen the reaction, he's seen the positivity coming, he sees that people are clamoring for the connections between the MCU, I think that he's ready to take the next step forward. He didn't rule out an R-rated movie at some point, possibly Venom. You know, I mean, there's a lot of balls in the air and a lot of things going, and I think he's just the right man to figure it all out and to lead the ship on the course.
It's a shame that it's just too bad. I don't actually dislike Venom, but I think I dislike what Venom has turned into, and the fact that if we were going to get an R-rated, straight from Marvel film, that it would probably be Venom, because of the nature of Venom. On the other hand, the Marvel Netflix shows are about as R-rated as I could imagine. So I guess I should just shut my trap hole.
I think that rating to me is almost irrelevant as long as it's good quality.
And there's still
Deadpool
a part of
is a
me.
example.
There's still a part of me that always goes through my head. Would I bring my kid to this? There's always that voice in my head.
Right. You wouldn't,
even
bring
though
your
I don't
kids
have children, but you know.
I mean, I wouldn't bring my kids to see Logan.
Yeah. You know,
But that
but
movie works
I'm saying,
very well.
But here's the thing. When it does, it's great, and one day you'll watch it with your kids, I'm sure. You know, when they're of age. You know, but my point is just the fact that Venom is part of Spider-Man's universe and all of that, and part of the Marvel universe. With all these movies being connected, the minute you have an R-rated film that is connected, and you've been enjoying these movies with your children, you immediately, like, the culture clash starts to happen then. You know, on the one level it works because there's a lot of people who literally grew up on these films starting in 2008, and we're in 2017. There's a lot of people who I knew were a kid in the audience for Iron Man, and now they're a grown man sitting there watching Spider-Man.
But there's already been a precedence with Deadpool and the X-Men universe.
But they are those are Fox productions
right,
and Fox decisions.
But what I'm saying is like there's already been a precedent that you can do it.
Of course,
You can
but,
it can be successful,
right?
And
Of course, but the thing is, for me, it's about the connection with the audience. Okay, it's too much. We're too much on this.
All right, we'll save that topic for another time.
Yes.
When the rated R MCU Venom movie comes out, we'll talk about
if it's even Venom.
It's true. All right, we'll end on this.
Obviously, this is a huge woo.
Yes.
Woo!
And then one last question, just some foreshadowing. Percentage chances we'll see Venom symbiote in Infinity War.
For me, because I'm very pragmatic, I'm going to call it 50-50.
So 50%.
Because it's the perfect opportunity to introduce it with the Guardians of the Galaxy and intergalactic battles and all of that. On the other hand, it's the perfect opportunity to introduce the Marvel Universe to galactic conflict, and maybe something happens afterwards.
Okay. I'm going to say 75%.
Okay.
That we're going to see.
What gives you the extra 25 over what I'm thinking?
I think because of how Homecoming ended.
Yeah.
What's been coming out of the Marvel offices as far as, now we've got 5 films planned and Spider-Man's launching phase 4, and I think everybody's all in. I think Venom's a big enough character that people want to see him, and I think that it would just send the fandom into a frenzy if we see this little symbiote crawling around and he gets on the Quinjet right before it takes off and goes back to Earth.
We could even see a little meteorite that spins off on the screen.
Yeah. Maybe they cause it during the battle. They cause this meteor,
right? And then we
redirect to Earth.
We cut back to that clip in the next Spider-Man film, and it's like, oh crap!
So, all right, thank you guys for watching our one-shot spoiler review of Spider-Man: Homecoming. I'm Tony Cox.
I'm Clifford Parmenter,
and we'll catch you next week. You've been watching Read, Watch,
Not even next week. It's later this week.
Later this week. We'll see you then.
Take care.
Looking for fun, informative Magic the Gathering analysis? Look no further than KerwinsGameStore.com. Team KGS has the best writers and content providers this side of Kaladesh. Whether you're looking for standard, modern, vintage, tournament reports, or deck techs, Team KGS will give you the insight and analysis to help with your Magic game. Check out KerwinsGameStore.com weekly for new videos and articles and see why KGS is the best place in gaming.